Everyone says Amazon killed retail, that malls died, stores disappeared, and everything moved online. But here's the problem with that story. If Amazon really destroyed retail, why are some of the biggest retailers in the world stronger than ever? And why are some stores still packed while others completely disappeared? The truth is, Amazon didn't kill retail. It killed something much more specific. That was a time, and not that long ago, when shopping was a very different experience. If you wanted something, you went to a store. You drove there. You walked the aisles. And whatever was on the shelf, that's what you got. If the store didn't have it, well, maybe you checked another store across town, or maybe you just settled. That was retail. It was local. It was limited. And in a strange way, it was forgiving. Retailers didn't have to be perfect. They had to be good enough for their market. And then in the mid-1990s, something quietly started to change. Back in 1994, a man named Jeff Bezos was working at a hedge fund in New York, D.E. Shaw. One day, he came across a statistic that would change everything. Internet usage was growing at over 2,000% per year. Now, most people saw that and thought, that's interesting. But Bezos saw something else. He saw a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build a new kind of company, one built entirely on the internet. So he did something most people wouldn't do. He just quit his job, drove across the country to Seattle, and started a business. And the idea he landed on was pretty simple.
So I decided I would try and find a business plan that made sense in the context of that growth. And I picked books as the first best product to sell online.
Not because books were exciting, but because books had one very important characteristic. There were millions of them. No physical bookstore could ever carry that much inventory. But the internet had no shelves. This idea became known as the infinite shelf. And in 1995, Amazon launched as an online bookstore. He chose the name Amazon partly because it started with the letter A, and partly because the Amazon River is the largest river in the world, reflecting Bezos' ambition to build the world's largest store. Amazon's early operations were famously small. The company initially operated out of Bezos' garage, and employees packed books on the floor of the garage. But within the first 30 days, Amazon sold books in all 50 states and in 45 countries. And right there, in that moment, something fundamental had changed. For the first time, a retailer wasn't limited by space. The shelf had become infinite. Now, at first, Amazon didn't look like a threat. It was just a website selling books. But underneath that simple idea, there was a deeper shift happening. Amazon wasn't just selling products. It was removing constraints. Before Amazon, retail had natural limits like limited shelf space, geographic reach, and inventory. But Amazon broke all three of these constraints. And once that happened, something interesting occurred. Customers started to realize that they didn't have to settle anymore. If a product existed, they could probably find it. That expectation, that quiet realization, was the beginning of the Amazon effect. Throughout the late 1990s, Amazon expanded quickly, and the company went public in 1997. The company's IPO price was $18 per share, giving it a valuation of about $438 million at that time. At that point, Amazon was still primarily an online bookstore. However, Bezos made it clear that books were only the beginning. In Amazon's IPO letter to shareholders, Bezos wrote, "This is day one for the internet." That phrase, day one, would become a defining principle inside the company. Books turned into music, DVDs, electronics, toys. During this time, Amazon also introduced two innovations that would become critical to its future. The first being customer reviews. Amazon allowed customers to review products publicly. At the time, this was very controversial because publishers worried that negative reviews would hurt sales. But Bezos believed that transparency would build trust. The second innovation was personalized recommendations. Amazon began using algorithms to recommend products based on user behavior. This was an early example of data-driven retail personalization. Despite this innovation, Amazon's early years were not easy. For a while, it looked like Amazon might just be another dot-com bubble company. Amazon wasn't profitable. In fact, during the dot-com crash around 2000, Amazon stock dropped from over $100 to around $6. People thought it was toast. It was over. Analysts called it a failed experiment. But Bezos had been very clear from the beginning. He wasn't building for the next quarter. He was building for the long term. Instead of trying to show profits, Amazon kept reinvesting into warehouses, into technology, into logistics, into systems. While other companies were trying to look profitable, Amazon was trying to become inevitable. And that decision, more than anything, is what allowed them to survive. In 2000, Amazon made one of the most important decisions in its history. It opened its platform to third-party sellers. Now, this was radical. Instead of competing with other retailers, Amazon invited them in. Anyone could sell on Amazon, and Amazon would take a cut. This did something incredibly powerful. It expanded Amazon's inventory without Amazon having to own the inventory. Over time, third-party sellers would come to account for more than half of all units sold on Amazon. And now Amazon wasn't just a retailer. It was becoming a marketplace, a platform, a system. But the real turning point came in 2005. As Amazon grew, Bezos realized that controlling logistics was critical. Amazon began investing heavily in fulfillment centers, in robotics, in delivery networks, in last-mile logistics. This investment allowed Amazon to offer increasingly fast delivery time. That's when Amazon launched Amazon Prime. At the time, it sounded almost absurd. Pay a subscription and get free 2-day shipping? 2-day shipping wasn't normal back then. It was fast, it was expensive, and it was something that you paid extra for. Amazon made it feel standard, and over time, they made it feel slow. Today, Amazon delivers billions of items per year, same day or next day. And that's where the real transformation happened. Because Amazon didn't just change what people bought, it changed what people expected. Once Amazon scaled, something subtle but incredibly important happened. Consumers started to change. They began to expect that anything they wanted, anything could be found. That prices should be transparent, delivery should be fast, and that shopping should be frictionless. And once those expectations took hold, there was no going back. Because now every retailer wasn't just competing with the store across the street. They were competing with Amazon. Even when the customer was standing inside their store, they were competing with Amazon. And this is where the story turned. Because not all retailers were built to survive in this rough new world. Some were fragile. They sold products you could compare easily, products you could ship easily, products you didn't need to see in person, and they offered no real reason to visit. Amazon did not hit every retailer equally. The most vulnerable categories included things like books, electronics, toys, commodity housewares, media, and parts of department store retail. These categories had one or more of the following traits: low differentiation, simple online comparison, easy shipping, stale store experience, too much square footage, too much debt, and weak customer loyalty. So when Amazon showed up, these retailers didn't just struggle, they got exposed. Chains like Sears, once one of the most powerful retailers in America, collapsed. Sears filed for bankruptcy in 2018. But Amazon didn't kill Sears overnight. Sears had been weakening for years. Amazon just removed the illusion that it was still competitive. And that pattern repeated itself across retail. Weak retailers didn't die because Amazon existed. They died because Amazon made their weaknesses impossible to ignore. Now, if you're watching this from afar, from the outside, it looked like retail was dying. Amazon and e-commerce hit the same time as stores were closing, malls were struggling, and brands were disappearing. So, even if Amazon was not the only cause, it became the symbol of the disruption. Soon, enough people started using the phrase, the retail apocalypse. But here's the thing, the data tells a different story. Even today, e-commerce accounts for roughly 16-17% of total US retail sales. That's massive growth, but it also means that the majority of retail is still happening in physical stores. Retail didn't disappear, it just reorganized. Many companies responded by having to create their own e-commerce platform. They realized that they had to have an e-commerce distribution network where they either distributed through dedicated distribution centers or fulfillment centers, or they used their stores as fulfillment centers and were able to then deliver within that local region very cost effectively in a very timely manner. So many companies were able to adapt to the pressure from Amazon. Some didn't, they went out of business. But those that did came up with a strategy of a fleet of bricks and mortar stores, a great app, and a distribution network that was either the stores and or fulfillment centers. Walmart is a perfect example. Instead of abandoning stores, Walmart turned them into an advantage. Today, nearly every Walmart store can handle pickup, delivery, and fulfillment. Walmart's fiscal 25 earnings say global e-commerce penetration reached 18% of net sales, about 1,100 basis points higher than in the year 2020. Walmart survived Amazon not by ignoring e-commerce, but by integrating stores into a hybrid retail system. Their physical footprint became a logistics network. Target did the same thing. Target's 24 annual report says that its stores fulfill the majority of digitally originated sales, helping with product availability, faster fulfillment, and lower shipping costs. That's exactly the opposite of the old stores are obsolete thesis. And then you have companies like Best Buy. Everyone thought that Amazon would destroy, it would kill Best Buy. And for a moment, it looked like it might. But Best Buy adapted. They leaned into expertise, into service, into installation, and into support. They gave customers a reason to walk in. And that made all the difference. What emerged after all of this wasn't the end of retail. It was a new version of retail, a hybrid system, where stores became fulfillment centers, websites became storefronts, inventory became shared, and customers moved seamlessly between everyone. McKinsey & Company's work on omnichannel retail says physical stores can and should play an important role in distribution networks, especially because returns to stores are often cheaper than returns by mail, and because stores improve reach and service through connected inventory. Deloitte says retailers are investing in the in-store experience, in digital commerce, in omnichannel capabilities together, not treating them as mutually exclusive strategies. And what's interesting is they found that the stores, opening physical stores, is the lowest cost way to obtain new customers. If you don't have stores and all you have is a website, at some point, the cost of getting customers isn't flat. It rises dramatically. And you have to buy ads, you have to do paid ads, you have to do Facebook ads, you have to pay more and more and more to get new customers. And at some point, it's so expensive that it makes the company almost not feasible from a profitability perspective. And so what you're finding out is that stores are the lowest cost way of getting new customers, and the lowest cost ways of protecting your brand, and the lowest cost way of doing returns. Now, the stores that develop their own e-commerce strategy have good balance sheets. Most of them have very good balance sheets. Most of them are public, and they're telling Wall Street that, hey, we're survived against against Amazon and Walmart. We're survived against both of those, and we're able to protect, if not grow, market share. And we got lots of cash. We got a great balance sheet. And we're going to grow by 225 stores a year for Aldi, 130 stores a year for TJ Maxx, 90 stores a year for Ross, 110 stores a year for Burlington, and on and on and on. There's dozens of companies that have effectively managed competition with Amazon, and they're growing, but there's no new shopping centers. In 2022, the cost of construction went up by 40% in the shopping center sector, and interest rates rose, and retailers aren't paying 40 to 50% more in rent for the same space. So there's no new construction, different than multifamily. There's lots of new apartments being built, different than industrial, lots of new industrial being built. You have all of these companies that are opening up thousands of stores into an inventory of shopping centers that's not growing. So while Amazon rumor is going to kill all shopping centers and all retail, retail's not dead. Retail's very alive, it's kicking, it's growing. And if you own a shopping center, you've got all these retailers who want to come in, which helps you improve your net operating income and increase your net operating income. So what is the Amazon effect? It's not just e-commerce growth. It's not just faster shipping. It's not just lower prices. Amazon raised the standard, raised the bar of what retail should be. And once that standard was set, every retailer had to respond. Some couldn't. They disappeared. Others adapted. In many cases, they became stronger than they were before. That's the Amazon effect. The story of Amazon is not a story about destruction. It's a story about pressure. Pressure on pricing, logistics, convenience, execution. And in any industry, when pressure increases, the weak break and the strong evolve. And the system moves forward. Amazon didn't kill retail. It just forced it to become something better.